Hello everyone, it is Heather, and I am here to give you a quick life and travel update. And the reason I decided to do this video right now is because I'm filming this on March 9th, 2022, and we're in the midst of a lot of travel vlogs. There is a very long series of videos going on my channel right now from our big trip that we took in January to Los Angeles and Disneyland. And those videos are still going to last for quite a while. There's going to be 2 or 3 videos from that trip every week through the end of April. So I wanted to break into that series really quick to give you an update on what's going on with us, because otherwise things are going to happen and those videos aren't going to go up for quite a while and you're going to wonder, when did that happen? The first thing I want to update you on is my ankle. You'll hear me talk about my ankle and see some things in the Disneyland vlogs, especially where I talk about issues with my ankle injury while we were at Disneyland. It definitely was a problem. I've seen no improvement in my ankle in the past year, not at all. And in fact, lately, like the last few days, week maybe, I feel like it's been getting worse. I'm in a lot of pain all the time, and it definitely very much limits my activities and my mobility. So it's definitely still a very big concern. I really do want to get a second opinion, but I'm kind of torn as to where to go. I think I've mentioned before that the podiatrist I saw at my clinic system is the only podiatrist at that clinic system where we live. I don't want to go back to him ever. And so I need to find someone different, but I'm trying to decide if I should go now or if I should wait until something else happens, which I'm coming to in a minute. So just want to let you know, ankle is not doing well, still in a great amount of pain, seems to be getting worse, need to go to another doctor. If you've been following along on my channel for a while, I did file for disability with Social Security. Disability applications are now taking at least a year to process, and I filed for that in December, so I don't expect anything to happen with that until at least December of 2022. From what I understand, most people's applications are denied the first time anyway, almost always. And so it might be it's likely going to be an even longer process than that if I get it at all. My legal firm that is representing me in my Social Security disability case sent me some paperwork quite a while ago that is still sitting on my desk that they want me to go to a doctor and have them fill out all these forms. The doctor I went to will never do that in a million years. He doesn't even take my injury seriously and did basically nothing to help me. So I need to find another doctor who can give me a second opinion, tell me if I have any options for any kind of treatment. Do I need surgery? Can they fill out the forms for me for disability? All of that. So that's kind of on hold, and I'm not sure what I'm doing with that. Okay, second big announcement. We sold this house about a month ago. I actually signed the contract on Valentine's Day. So I sold the house for cash to a professional home buying company. The reason I did that is partly because of my ankle injury, honestly. I can't do all the things that are involved with selling a house the traditional way. I can't deal with realtors make me crazy. I can't deal with dealing with a realtor. I can't clean it. I can't stage it. I can't deal with people coming in and out of the house for showings. I didn't want to deal with any of that. And so that's the choice that I made. I'm sure I am getting considerably less than what I would if I had sold it the traditional way, but I'm also saving myself an enormous amount of time and a huge headache. So the house has been sold. They've already come and done their walkthrough. They brought contractors through. We went to the movies while they did that. They brought contractors through to look at everything so they could basically decide what they want to fix, and so they could order supplies. And during the pandemic, with all the shipping delays and things like that, they really have to plan ahead and order things well ahead of time. The absolute latest we could close on the house would be May 15th, according to our contract. They actually would like it if we could close sooner than that, like by the end of this month. But we have absolutely no idea where we're moving to. None. We've been searching and searching and searching. We have no idea where we're moving. We don't even know what state we're moving to. We don't know what part of the country we're moving to. We have no idea. And we're running into a couple of problems with trying to find a place. One is availability. We'll find places, but then when I call about them, they're not actually available, or they've already been rented, or something like that. Another problem that we've run into is we've realized that the places that we really like, that have everything that we want, are really expensive. Rents are crazy expensive everywhere in the country, okay? And the other thing is, when we find places that are more affordable, we'll get excited. We're like, oh, this one's more affordable. But then I take another step to check out the school district, because we want to know what the high school's like for Ben. And the more reasonably priced places are in the not good school districts. So there's definitely a correlation of the good school districts have the more expensive housing. And I'm sure that is a relation. More of a suburban type area is what we're looking for. I mean, we need certain things. We need a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, preferably with no steps, but that's proving to be really difficult to find. Most 3-bedroom, 2-bath places are a traditional townhouse style, which I normally would love, but the steps are, steps are terrible for me. I still really can't go down steps. I mean, I can go down them, but not normally. It's very hard and it's painful, and it takes a really long time. We need an in-unit washer and dryer. We want to stay in a northern climate. We like the 4 seasons. Central air and a dishwasher. Those are our must-haves. So those are the kind of things we're looking for. But it's proving to be challenging. And another thing that we're finding is challenging is, how do you look at a place when you're 15 states away? You can't. So, I mean, my son Andrew got his apartment where he lives now. He had not seen it before he moved in there. The landlord actually took a camera around and showed it to him on like a Facebook call or something. And we might end up having to do something like that. I'm not sure, but that's what's happening. We are moving. We may move before you see new vlogs. That's very likely. It's very likely we will be moving in April. As you can see behind me, we have done absolutely nothing to prepare for moving. We haven't gotten rid of anything. Ben has. Yes, Ben's been very organized in getting rid of stuff in his room, yes. One of the problems we're running into is we're not really going to be taking any of this furniture. This furniture is all too big and too old and the wrong style for what we want to have in our...
have kind of like a light...
Yeah, we want to go with a much lighter, beachier kind of theme. That's kind of what we're going for in our new place.
Blues and whites and
right, blues and whites and things like that. Exactly, yes. To make the space feel bigger and things like that. And we've just had this furniture a long, long time. We've lived in this house for 18 years and we've had this furniture the whole time. And some of it from before that. We need to move out. And then before we close on the house, need to have time to sell all of this. So that's a challenge. We can't get rid of any of it ahead of time because we're using it all. We literally sit on, sleep in, and use all the furniture we have every single day. We may be in a position, quite frankly, where we're homeless for a little bit because we may need to leave this house and go somewhere and, I don't know, travel, go in a Verbo, live in a hotel for a little bit. We don't know. We haven't worked that out yet. It's all up in the air. So stay tuned because there'll be more coming about that. Okay, along with that, Megan applied to 3 colleges and she was accepted to all 3 colleges that she applied to. One of them she has basically ruled out. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, she has basically ruled one of them out. The other 2, we are going back to visit again. We are going back to visit one college in Minnesota, and we are going back to visit one college out east. We are doing that, one of them next week and one of them the week after that. So we will have vlogs coming from those things too, because we're going to be doing some other stuff while we're in those places. We are going to be spending some time in Boston. If you saw our stuff from Boston when we were there in August last year, you know that we missed getting to do some things because there was a hurricane. And so we're going to do the things that we didn't get to do in Boston in August because of the hurricane and that we had to leave and come home 2 days early. So we're going to be doing those things. I actually just bought the tickets to everything right before I came and filmed this video. So you can look forward to those because we're going to be doing some cool things in Boston while we're out there. We're also going to see Andrew while we're out there. So we're going to go visit the one school in Minnesota next week and hopefully look at some rental properties while we're over there. And then we're hoping to look at some rental properties out east while we were there. But everything that's really close to the school that we're visiting is way too expensive. Andrew pointed out to me that Boston is the third most expensive housing market in the United States after New York City and San Francisco. So, yeah. So if we move to that part of the country, it would be farther away, different state type thing than like around the Boston area. That's a big factor. We're going to go visit these schools and Megan's going to make a decision. She's going to decide if she wants to go at all. If you've been staying up on like the cost of college and things like that, for a lot of people, spending all that money for a 4-year degree is not worth it. I don't know that it was worth it for me, honestly. But like Andrew going into law, it is worth it for him because it's a very specific career that he has to go into, that he needs these certain degrees. So, it depends on the situation. But she also wants to go back and see the schools again. They have a lot of things at the admitted students days at colleges. If you have a kid that's in high school now or thinking about looking for colleges, I really encourage you to do that. I know Andrew did too. After they're accepted, like go visit when they're like a junior. You really should be looking at the schools like when they're a junior, at the latest fall of their senior year of high school. And then after they apply and get accepted to schools, have them go back again. The spring of their senior year, they have these accepted or admitted students days where they have special event days just for students who have been accepted to that school. And they have special things that they don't have on the regular tour days for just the general prospective student. Ben had his first physical in 2 years. We haven't really gone to the doctor in a long time except for my ankle, and he grew 6 inches. So Ben got a lot taller during the pandemic. Megan and I are kind of in, and this comes back to my ankle that I was talking about on the beginning. I don't know if we can go to the doctor yet because of our insurance. Like it's too soon. Well, I could because I haven't gone for 2 years. Except I don't know about that because I had a teleconference appointment one time last year. So I don't know. We're trying to decide if we should go before we move or if it would make more sense, depending on where we move, we might just have to find new doctors where we move to. We're not sure. We don't know any of this. It's all up in the air. This is very unlike me, by the way. I'm such a planner, and the whole pandemic time period is really kind of messing with my brain because everything's like last minute and everything changes all the time. The one thing we definitely want to do before we leave here, though, is go to the dentist because we have dental insurance coverage now, but if we move to another state, we might lose that. So definitely want to go to the dentist before we leave Wisconsin, if we definitely do move out of Wisconsin. Okay, the other thing I wanted to update you on is travel. So I just told you a couple things. We have a trip next week. We're going to be spending 2 nights, 3 days in Minnesota. And then the week after that, we're going to be flying to Boston, renting a car. We're going to be going to the admitted student day with Megan at the one university that she was accepted to out there. And then we're going to be doing several things in Boston. We're actually going to be out there for 5 nights. Stay tuned for that because we will have videos coming from that trip. Beyond that, I have something kind of big to tell you. We did book a cruise that we were going to take over Megan's birthday. It was a 5-night Eastern Canadian cruise out of Cape Liberty in New Jersey on Royal Caribbean. I had mixed feelings about it. I booked it because it was cheap. It was only going to cost like $2,500 total, and that was with prepaying the gratuities and everything. I still have the plane tickets booked. I'm going to have to deal with those later. But we were going to go a couple days early and go to the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island. So that's still kind of on our list of something we want to do. And then yesterday, was it? The day before? A couple days ago, Canada finally announced their thing about, yes, they're going to for sure let cruises come this year, and that was a concern about people who had Alaska cruises booked. Because if you follow the cruise industry, Alaska had to get a special exception last year because of the Passenger Vessel Services Act. Normally they have to stop in a different country, and that would have been Canada. And they got an exception to that because of the senator and the congressman from Canada put a bill forth where they got an exception where they could just go straight from Seattle to Canada or Seattle to Alaska without having to stop in Canada because the Canadian ports were all still closed. Well, the Canadian ports are reopening now, And they have some very specific requirements for people who are coming to Canada, either going to Alaska or going to like an Eastern Canada cruise like we were. One of them is that everybody's got to be vaccinated. The whole ship has to be vaccinated. So those cruise lines that are going there are going to have to step it up because some of them only had like 95% requirement. So everybody's got to be fully vaccinated, which is not a problem for us. We all are. It's the dang testing again. The testing was really messing me up. And when I called Royal Caribbean to ask them about it, they were clueless. They didn't know anything about the announcement about the requirements for going to Canada. They couldn't answer any of my questions. The woman kept talking about the CDC. And I'm like, lady, there's no CDC in Canada. This is Canada. They have their own requirements. It's a different country. And she couldn't seem to grasp that. And so I was like, And I still don't have the answers. And nobody seems to have the answers if you follow, cruise people on Twitter and all that. There's a lot of unknown about what's going to happen with testing, the timing of the testing, and are you going to have to test again on the ship before you can get off in a Canadian cruise port, which it sounds like you do. And I'm not comfortable with that. That puts us in a precarious position, which I've talked about in videos before, where what if one of us tests positive? I can't risk the financial implication or the disruption possibility. If you test positive while you're on your cruise ship, and I've talked about this in a video before, I'll put it up here, they take care of you, but you're going to get isolated on the cruise ship. Your cruise, as you know it, is done. And then you're going to have to, because we'd be in a different place, we're going to end up having to isolate in a hotel, probably in New Jersey, and not be able to come home. And we're going to have to pay all the costs of that up front, possibly. And I just can't afford that. I mean, I would have had literally just enough money to cover this cruise trip. And I would not have had that extra pile of money that I've talked about if one of us tests positive and I end up having to isolate or quarantine in a hotel somewhere. I just can't risk it. And I don't like the idea of the cruise line testing us. And we were going to do like home tests and order the home tests that Royal Caribbean has. And we were hoping to do them from home before we left for New Jersey. But then the timing of that wasn't going to work out. And so I just said, forget it. We did have a non-refundable deposit because here was the deal with Royal Caribbean. When we booked that cruise, it was $300 deposit. But if you wanted a non-refundable deposit, you had to pay an extra $410 on top of the deposit to make it non-refundable. Well, that's dumb because to make it non-refundable is more than what you would be losing if you lost your deposit. So I didn't do that. So instead of just canceling the cruise, I decided to take our deposit and change the cruise. I changed the cruise to something we wanted to do a little more because I very much do want to do an Eastern Canada cruise. But there were two reasons I wasn't completely excited about that particular one I had booked. One was the class of the ship. We've already been on that class of Royal Caribbean ship, which is the Voyager class, twice before. I've been on Explorer of the Seas and I've been on Mariner of the Seas. And this was on Adventure of the Seas. And I just would really like to do a different class of ship. Secondly, it was not as long as I would like to. It only stopped in Bar Harbor, Maine and Halifax, Nova Scotia. And there's some better Eastern Canadian cruise itineraries that interest me more. So we're going to set that one aside for now and do an Eastern Canada cruise some other time. So what I did was I changed our Royal Caribbean cruise that I had booked because we had the non-refundable deposit with them. And I booked us an Alaskan cruise out of Seattle on Ovation of the Seas for May of 2023 over Megan's birthday again, which we're very excited about. We haven't been on that class of ship. That's the Quantum class with the North Star and everything. We think that would be really cool in Alaska. It's a nice itinerary that I like. It's out of Seattle, which I like. It's a 7-night, and I'm really hoping that there is no more testing by then. That's over a year away. Please, for the love of God, let there be no more testing by then. Everybody else goes on and on and on about vaccination and masks. I don't want to go on a cruise. Who cares? I really don't see the big deal, personally, about either having to get vaccinated or having to wear a mask. To me, those are easy and no problem. They're not really an inconvenience. They don't really cost anything. I don't get it. I don't get why people freak out so much about those two things, but nobody seems to be bothered by the testing. Testing is incredibly invasive. In some cases, it's painful. It's incredibly inconvenient. Trying to get the timing of that for a cruise is like a nightmare. There's been countless stories of people who got turned away at the cruise ship because they didn't get their test results back in time, or all sorts of things, or they had the wrong thing, or they missed something, and it's also extremely expensive. Testing for travel is not the same as testing just to find out if you're positive or not. You have to have particular types of tests for travel, and they're very expensive. In some cases, you could be spending upwards of $1,000 for a family of 4 for one test each. And in a lot of cases, you can't get away with just one test each. So I don't understand it at all why everybody goes on and on about masks and vaccines, which to me is no big deal at all and doesn't bother me in the least. But testing is a major hassle. We just kind of are back to it again until there's no more testing, which I'm sorry, somebody tell me if there's been any other time in the history of the world where they made you test for some kind of contagious illness to be able to travel. Please? Because I can't think of anything. Okay? I mean, they might screen you for stuff. But I can't think of a single other time in the history of anything where they have required people to take some kind of a medical test to be able to travel. Am I forgetting something? Please tell me if I am. Okay, but anyway, the two things we really want to do, we really want to take cruises and we really want to go to Europe. But right now, we can't do either of those things. We can go to Europe. We've actually discussed this. We've actually said, let's just go to Europe, to one of the countries that no longer has any requirements, has no testing requirements anymore. Ireland, Iceland, Denmark, there's all sorts of them, okay? And just stay there. You know, you can go 6 months on a tourist visa. I'm not kidding. We might end up doing that because we might end up having nowhere to go once we have to be out of this house and not have a new place to live yet. And we might have to find somewhere to go. And I don't know, wait and see. That's all I can say. But again, you still got to have a test to come back to the United States, which makes no sense to me at all, since the United States has more cases than basically anybody else on the planet. Somebody explain that to me because it doesn't make sense to me. And I had a poll on my community tab. If you haven't seen it yet, go to my community tab on my YouTube homepage. I run polls there all the time that are quite interesting. Sometimes I'm really surprised, and this was one of them. The results of the poll I ran where I asked the question, which do you think will happen first? Do you think cruise lines will stop requiring testing? Or do you think the United States will stop requiring COVID testing for people to get back into the United States? And fairly, not overwhelmingly, but it was much greater that people thought that the cruise lines would get rid of the requirement first. And I actually have to say, I kind of disagree. There's been a lot of countries that have dropped their COVID testing requirements for people coming into their country. And I think it's more likely that the U.S. will drop the requirement first. Because the U.S. is a great big humongous country. And they want international visitors, you know, for the economy. And now again, like, travel to Europe is getting kind of taken a downbeat again because of the war in the Ukraine. People are a little hesitant about going to Europe. So international travel is really taking a hit because of testing and now because of the war in Ukraine. So I am more likely to think that the U.S. will drop the requirement like many other countries in Europe already have, but the cruise ships will keep it longer because since the cruise ships are dropping masks and the cruise ships are getting rid of their other protocols, I think it's more likely they're going to want to keep the testing in place because, again, cruise ships cannot afford to have a major outbreak on board. They don't want another Diamond Princess situation. So we'll have to see what goes with that. But if you haven't answered that poll on my community tab yet, go check it out. Okay, last thing I want to tell you. My 50th birthday is coming up in 5 months. My 50th birthday. Big milestone birthday. Really, really, really wanted to do a Northern European cruise for my 50th birthday. But again, the testing thing. Is that still going to be in place? We're going to have to wait and see. I want to still do a Northern European cruise or go to Europe, just travel to Europe somehow, or take some kind of cruise for my 50th birthday and plan on doing one of those things if testing has stopped, if testing has ended and there's no testing to complicate things for me and put me in a financial risky position, that's what we want to do for my 50th birthday. My backup plan is if we can't do a cruise or can't go to Europe for my 50th birthday, then I want to go to Hawaii. Because if you remember back when I talked about, I think it was in this video where I talked about our kind of hopes, plans, things we'd like to do in 2022, we had that idea that Megan came up with where I do all 50 states by 50. Tell me if you think this counts. Since we have the Alaska cruise booked for May of 2023, while I will still be 50, if we go to Hawaii for my 50th birthday, I'm still 50, so I would still be getting all 50 states in. Does that count? Because the only ones I still need are Alaska and Hawaii. So that's kind of the plan. So that went longer than I was expecting. I thought this was going to be really quick, but that's all the things that are going on with us. I just wanted to update you guys because otherwise by the time all the Disneyland vlogs and everything end, which I really hope you're enjoying those, be sure you subscribe to the channel and be sure that you click on the notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming Disneyland content because there's a whole bunch of Disneyland stuff coming, and that you don't miss any of the updates on all of this stuff that I've shared with you in this video. But I just wanted to give you a quick update because I didn't want you to be like, whoa, what happened if I start posting stuff like in May or June and we live in some different place and you have no idea what happened. So that's what's going on with us. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Have a great day and safe travels.